Maintaining relationships through reciprocal care is an important aspect of Indigenous approaches to land that prioritize the health and well-being of humans, lands, waters, animals, and plants.
Reciprocity is defined by mutual benefit. For Native people, this didn't mean that the land went unchanged, but that their interactions with it both enabled their ability to survive and benefited the environment. The removal of Indigenous people from these lands interrupted these reciprocal relationships, making it impossible for them to care for important ecosystems. This lack of care, as well as significant changes settlers made to the earth, negatively impacted both animal and plant species. Doug Kiel, citizen of the Oneida Nation, associate professor of history at Northwestern, and co-curator of the Indigenous Chicago exhibition.
From the moment settlers arrived in this region in the late 17th century, they envisioned changes to the landscape that would suit their economies. Both the mouth of the Chicago River and the Chicago Portage were previously shallow waterways that were an ideal habitat for many types of plants and fish and were well suited for canoes. However, since larger ships often ran aground in these shallow waters, settlers began planning to alter the waterscape.
This case includes William Howard and F. Harrison's 1830 map of the mouth of the Chicago River, Illinois, with the plan of the proposed piers for improving the harbor, and William C. Alden's map showing the lake shore.
These plans propelled native removal and began as the final treaties were being signed. Congress earmarked funding for harbor improvements in 1828 and 1831, and construction began in 1833. U.S. officials broke ground on the Illinois-Michigan Canal in 1836, and plans to reroute the river and create a harbor suitable for larger ships also began in this period. The buzz around these engineering projects drew waves of American settlers and land speculators who expressed their disdain for the marsh-dominated region. As a result, U.S. officials began several draining projects along the southern section of Lake Michigan starting in 1832, ultimately destroying 367,485 acres of wetlands. Several infrastructure projects, and later the Great Chicago Fire, also resulted in huge deposits of sand and rubble into Lake Michigan, extending the lakeshore further east. This land did not exist when treaties were signed, so it remains unceded.
Land agreed upon in treaties is known as ceded land, but much of the land in the United States remains unceded, meaning it was taken forcefully or without treaties. The new land along the lake shore of Lake Michigan did not exist when the treaties ceding land in Chicago were signed, so many continue to see it as unceded.
These changes are drastic and have been destructive, but it's important to emphasize that today, Native people are renewing our relationships with this land and reclaiming traditional lifeways. Some do this through art. On the north wall of the gallery, you can see 3 teaching blankets created by Potawatomi artist Jason Weesaw that speak to the ongoing connections that removed Indigenous people hold to the land and waterways in Chicago. There's also a long history of renewing and teaching others about traditional land-based practices. The First Nations garden featured here in a photograph is a great example of this. Organizations like the Chicago American Indian Center and Trickster Cultural Center have long planted and managed Indigenous gardens. And Professor Eli Suzakovich, who is from the Little Shell Band of Chippewa Cree Nation, continues to teach maple tapping at Northwestern University.